Hey there everyone, welcome back to Bloodborne. Previously, we used the celestial dial in the astral clock tower to reveal the fishing hamlet inhabited by humanoid fishmen, or fish people, whatever you want to call them. Apparently the true secret of the hunter's nightmare, or at least a part of it beyond the research hall in what Lady Maria was kind of involved in, was a part of essentially Bergenworth and their hunters. Okay, I had to think of what I was saying there. Bergenworth had their hunters raid this place called the Fishing Hamlet, which is, like I said, essentially just a fishing village inhabited by these fishmen, and they essentially dissected the villagers. And from some of the item descriptions we looked at, apparently we're trying to remove their eyes with this kind of looks like a lobotomy tool of sorts. And of course, knowing Bergenworth, this is probably for the sake of the whole lining the inside of their head with eyes to commune with the Great Ones. The fishermen shamans, or priests of the village, then apparently called on a Great One to curse the scholars and hunt for what they did, and hunters for what they did, which could be the reason behind the defiled and cursed labyrinth that we have not yet entered. The priest was essentially talking about cursing the people of Bergenworth, and he was talking about Mother Kos, which we've heard of before. It's one of the Great Ones, the true Great Ones. So the last time we made it to the lighthouse hut, which is where we are right now. This is where we lost Simon. We also did some other things as well, but like taking out Bradar, so we don't have to deal with him anymore, but we can still kind of reap the rewards for taking him out. So that is where we're essentially going to get started. So the lighthouse hut is kind of a hub for shortcuts. So we're actually going to go past the lighthouse hut here first and over to this side. Now, from this angle, so if you remember when we first entered, the moon was kind of tucked away behind the ship sails or masts. And if you look here, you've got a pretty nice clear view of the moon. So if you look under the moon and kind of between and at the kind of opposing side of where I'm standing, there's a tombstone there and a lemon flower. And if you look over the cliff edge, you can see a giant white corpse thing next to the water, so next to a lake of sorts, and kind of heading out towards the ocean. Now, the implication here at this point is that we have a grave. It's overlooking the coast with this giant corpse. The grave has a lemon flower on it, which means that Lady Maria is probably the one that's been here, because she's the one who seems to have an affinity for the lumen flowers. Like I said, she literally had a lumen wood tree outside of the astral clock tower, between that and the research hall, and then there was a lumen flower garden down in the cathedral area where she was basically giving access to Adeline so that she could smell the flowers. So she really liked the flowers. But this way we are going to head towards the remainder of the hamlet. You can fall down there, and there are enemies down there. I would say you don't want to fall down there, because we will make our way down there on our own by our own decision. Now, typically, this is the first place where Bradar would invade you, but now that we have taken him out, he does not invade us anymore. So that was the whole purpose of going back to the underground corpse pile and into the cell area, was to basically take Bradar out before we came here. So we just don't need to deal with him as we keep moving through. And so we are essentially going to be collecting the rest of his outfit. So there should be 2 more pieces that we will get. And there should be you can see the staff there. That's another shaman, so they use lightning attacks. I thought you would drop something. And if you go up this way, this is actually the point forward, but there are some items down here we can get. So we're going to investigate the rest of this area. Okay, over here again, you can kind of see the ship masts rising out of the lake again. Like I said, I do have some stuff I'm going to kind of call back to you on that, because I mentioned them at several points throughout the playthrough. It's just a really cool touch, if you ask me. I mean, it's not life-changing or anything, but I think it's really cool. Oh, he fell over. It's those little hints of detail that you don't pick up on until you talk to other people that kind of make games like this so much more, I don't know, enticing, fulfilling, rewarding. Not that they weren't like right from the get-go, but it gives you so much more appreciation for like what the game devs did here beyond like the amazing visuals and gameplay and all that. And that does not look like fun down there. Now, I don't think there's anything that can throw. Or is there? Yeah, you're just waiting for me, aren't you? Do I have... Do I have any Molotovs? I do. Nope, wrong one. That's just trolling, man. Come on. Ooh, that's a lot of doggos. Oh, I did not mean to fall in. I did not mean to fall in. Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is bad. Okay. If I go in there, I might get bombarded again. I'm just going to assume there's something in every building. I do believe that we have run into the last of the shark people. Like the big ones. I could be wrong. Oh, what are you doing to me? Oh, no, come on. I've never had that happen before. Oh, no, come on. That is not cool, man. Not cool, right? He's almost... That's almost as bad as, like, the witches that try to carve your eyes out. And what are you doing? Sorry, ice cream scoop, not carved. I mean, I guess it's kind of the same thing. Okay, come on. It looks like we have more of what I'm going to assume are phantasms here. Again, slug-like creatures, they're not fish. I saw you there, Doggo. Alright. Is that where I fell down? No, that's where I fell down. Oh look, there's a ladder right here. I don't know if you're actually going to take me somewhere I want to go, though. Ooh, item. What files? Okay. where do you go? Let's check it out at least. Okay, so, yeah, just where we were. So it was at least a way out of here. Now, I do believe the next summoning point for Brador would have been under here. Yeah, Beast Hide Garb. That's him. And Coldblood. Alright. That must have been the only way up then, so I probably should have just waited. What about out here? So I think we got everything. Oh. Good thing I checked. Again, kind of keep an eye on the edge of the water right here. So you will fall off. And again, you can still see buildings underneath, which I think is really cool. That's just really, really cool. It's the entirety of Nightmare Yarnum below us. Alright, there we are. So now we want to go into the cave that we kind of crossed paths with earlier. You know, there's one thing I forgot to do. There are winter lanterns in the cave at some point. So Frenzy Resist would not be a bad thing to have on right now. I might just try it without, though. See how it goes. I think I hit that twice. Okay. Now, this is the area I kind of refer to as the mine. I don't think it's really a mine, though. I think they're tending to phantasm eggs of a sort, or something like that. Or maybe they're tending to their own eggs. But there's phantasms all over here. Why? Oh, the shaman. And if you look at these giant shells, those are the same shells that the snail woman had, the one who fell into the hunter's dream. So, assumption that she fell from here, because the lower part of the hunter's dream where we initially started was at a much lower plane in the nightmare realm. And that kind of makes me wonder, so if these are phantasm shells, because to me they kind of look like them, and we've seen the slugs all over the place. I don't know. The slugs are the phantasms, but the small shell versus the big shell, that's kind of making me wonder. Is there some kind of connection between the phantasms and the snail people? I gotta go look at the phantasm shell and see if it actually looks like that. Because we do have it. There's another one over at the back, if you look right above my head. So it's another shaman, I do believe. If not, there's one near him. Are there two of them? Yeah. so. Blood vials, good. I did not like that, did they? Oh. He just fell to his death. Now, there's a ladder here to move forward, but before we take that, I do believe this is the first shortcut back to the lantern. Okay, so the outside door was the first shortcut, not the other one. I think I said the inside door was the last shortcut, but that is the way to get back if you die. I mean, assuming you can't skip, it skips the whole outer village hamlet area, so. Or Fishing Hamlet. Oh, look, you can see them there. So the phantasms again. So if you look at the heads, you can see that they have the little slug-like eyes at the end. It kind of makes me wonder if these shell people down here are like ascended people of some sort. Ooh, they take quite a bit of damage, don't they? They look a lot like... They remind me a lot of things like the brain suckers and such, with the like texture of their skin and the color. They hit pretty hard, all things considered. It's kind of cool because like the water effect here makes it look like they're moving. Nice kind of illusion effect. Look, this one's just sitting there on its own. You can actually get a pretty good look of it that way. The little, I said I'm still going to call it a phantasm, because that's what it looks like. This one is missing its shell. Oh, great. A tunnel. I think that one came out of that shell. That's cool. Okay. So, into the tunnel we go. I'm going to pre-plan this a little bit. Just a little bit. We're going to get some sedatives. I might keep the Molotovs out just in case. I don't know if the blue elixir would actually help with this. Alright, so there's a couple of things here. So we're going to be going down that tunnel. And at the very end, you can't see it very well, but there's a shaman down there. And he's going to just wreck us if we aren't prepared for that. So just be aware. Ooh, we can see over the coast again. So the coast, that's the body we could see from up at the tombstone. The one that Lady Maria left the flowers at. So let's see if I can do this. Nope. Definitely not. I even had it in my notes to watch out for the shaman, and so the shaman's like, no, I have other plans for you. Okay. So we're just gonna run ahead here as best we can. Ooh. Wow, you survived? Oh, wrong side. Hey, come on. Give me those. Did I kill you? Okay, I did. Alright, well, that was a quick run back. And what the heck did I use on him last time? Let's try one of these, I guess. Yeah, see, I was kind of saving those elixirs because I remembered using them here a few times. So after this, I'll probably end up selling them, but they have their uses. Ooh. Yeah, and I think that's everything up here. So as we get over here, you'll notice you can hear the winter lanterns again. So we have the winter lanterns are down this pathway, I do believe. We can go down in this tunnel to get some stuffs. It's also an elevator. And that tunnel leads to the coast, which is the end of this location. And then this leads us to the last shortcut. So we'll do the shortcut first. And this is the lighthouse hut where we started, so that is our way back. I don't think these stairs go anywhere. I think it's just a dead end. I don't know if it actually goes anywhere in the game, but as far as I know, you can't go up them. And I'm actually going to send this up for now. I don't know why I sent it up. I'm just assuming I'm going to die here. I don't have my Frenzy Resist, so it's a safe assumption. Curse, Kin Hunters, Damp Blood Gem. Interesting. Kin Hunters. Why would that be a thing? That's kind of interesting. I guess I might fall into that class. I have been hunting a lot of kin. Unintentionally, I mean, well, not unintentionally, but like, what other options do we have? Okay. There are 2 of them here. So this could go really badly. Oh, crap. Yeah, there we go. Nice try. I actually thought that was going to be game over there, but... Okay, let's check this side. I think one of these leads back to the shark area in the well. Yeah, I think it's that. We'll come back here. I want to deal with her, because I'm going to have to come back down here and deal with them again if I die, and I'd rather get rid of her now. Ooh. Oh, no, she got me. No! I went to heal. Why did I go to heal? I wonder how much the Molotovs do to them. Oh no. Give me those. Great. Question is, can I take her on? So it did not go in my favor, especially without the resistance. She's coming either way. If you can avoid the grab, that makes a big difference with them. Alright, yeah, so here's where the shark fight was in the well. So these were the 2 items you could see. So that's the ladder we came down. You can see the second one up on top. But we are done with them. And I believe on the other side, I think there's some good items. So I believe there's a blood rock down here, which is the only other one you find in the game as far as fixed position. And as far as I know, there's only one in the main game, and I think there's one in the DLC. And I believe that's it as far as fixed blood rocks. I think you can get others somehow. Hey. Hey. No! That was a trap if I had ever seen one. Oh, ow. Okay, where's the other one? He's hiding in the corner. I forgot about him. Wait. Don't forget. Don't forget the loot. Oh, come on. There it is, Blood Rock. Okay. And that is all. Let's see if there's any items over here real quick. I think we're good. Alright, so we have a massively aggressive fight ahead of us here. But I'm not like worried about it, but I'm not overly confident that it's going to be like a one and done type thing. So we are going to head to the Hunter's Dream before we go down that tunnel. So again, I'm not really concerned about it, but I'm probably going to die. I don't remember if I picked up. Oh, I did. No. So I don't really need these anymore. I've never really used these. I'll hold on to the sedatives, but I don't think I'll use them much anymore. Let's quickly check blood gems. It's been a while since I've honed in on those. No, nothing here. It's probably not going to be until we get to the lower labyrinths that I'm really going to get much out of blood gems anyway. Now, fortifications, we could push into the Rakuyo, because I definitely want to use that later. Okay, at least as much as I can. Moonlight Holy Blade will go to 9. My +6 torch and my +8 pistol. Alright, leveling, that's what we came here for.
Welcome home, good hunter. What is it you desire? Very well. Let the echoes become your strength. Let me stand close. Now shut your eyes.
Can I do 2? No. That is worth selling stuff over. So I'm not using these. He's actually really high level. I don't think I'm going to use him, but... Fire attack. HP recovery +4. Oh yeah, more than enough. We'll sell the rest later.
Farewell, good hunter. May you find your worth in the waking world.
Let's get back to it. Okay, so straight down. We have a direct path right to the fight, which is nice. So it's like they're all praying, which I think is really interesting. And we're down at the coast. So this one is Orphan of Kos. As far as the fight goes, that's what we're going up against. Probably for me, next to like the defiled chalice, I would say this is probably one of the worst fights for me in the game. The first time I played this, defiled chalice is still ridiculous for me. The boss, the fight here is really erratic, but parryable, and it's more just about. This is one I'm not as bad at dodging, but the orphan uses kind of this. The best description I've heard for it is a meat yo-yo. It basically looks like you just took a big chunk of like placenta and attached a string to it, and just he wheels it at you, as a weapon basically. But he can do it like with like a string and let it fly out at you. And so it's kind of important that you want to get out of its range as far as I'm concerned. You might be able to dodge it up close somehow, but I don't know if I've done that too much. I usually just kind of pull away when I see it flying outwards. Once you kind of get halfway through or so, I think it's about halfway, maybe a little bit more. The orphan's gonna go into a second stage where it becomes much more erratic and hits harder. Starts using these random arcane spells a lot more. The arcane spells are usually kind of like AOE type spells. It'll throw it down to the ground, and these arcane blasts kind of come up. It's really similar to what the shamans use, but just from the bottom up. And sometimes the orphan will just throw them directly at you, but usually it's more of an AOE type thing. And honestly, this is one of those fights where you just gotta work at it and practice at it. I don't have any really strong tips or hints with it. I do believe bolt paper works, if I remember. So I'll try it if I feel like it's worth trying. But like I said, it's the orphan's rather erratic, and once it gets to the second stage, that's when it gets really aggressive. Personally, like now that I've done it, like this is probably my fourth time doing this. It's not nearly as bad for me, but it still kind of keeps you on edge because it is a tough fight. And I would say the first time I played this, it probably took me a good several hours of practice before I finally took it out. And as far as Bloodborne goes, that was the longest I think one of the longest I ever spent on a fight. The only one that's compared to that for me so far has been the amygdala in the defiled chalice, so which we will get to later, unfortunately. So I'm just going to run in there and kind of trigger this. There's a couple of other things to watch out for. One thing is I would kind of stay in the water. I've had much better luck than being on land, and the orphan will use this kind of attack at more around the halfway point, where basically these kind of electric shocks will kind of spread out from it and just kind of span the distance of the arena. And if you're out in the water, you can get between the blasts, but it kind of looks like a string of lightning bolts just kind of moving outward away from it. They're spaced apart from each other, so I usually just run between them when it happens. So let's just kind of just jump into this and see how it goes. Too early. Oh! Oh, no. Still hit me. Oh, he's landing right on me. Oh, I went right into that. Too far. Man, my heart is just racing after that.
Sweet child of Kos, returned to the ocean. A bottomless curse, a bottomless sea, accepting of all that there is and can be.
So, now that the orphan has been killed and the nightmare slain, you can see the sunrise kind of coming out and that the kind of strange nightmare moon has dissipated. So let's quickly check our new item here. Kos Parasite. When the carcass of Kos washed up on the coast, its insides were teeming with tiny parasites, unlike any found in humans. This atypical weapon can only be clasped tight and swung, but a Kos parasite is said to stimulate phantasms inhabiting a lumen wood. So, interesting. The appearance is really interesting too. Okay, so like that Orphan of Kos, if you notice now that he is dead in the kind of, it looks like a dawn of a new day is essentially coming, but the rain has dissipated, which I think is really interesting. I actually didn't really think about that the first time I played this, and as the Kos parasite said, they stimulate phantasms inhabiting a lumen wood, and we've been even talking about lumen wood quite a bit here. So the lumen flowers. Originally, we found them in the orphanage above the Grand Cathedral. We found them right before Lady Maria's, room in the Astral Clock Tower. And essentially, it sounds like the lumen wood were used by, or the lumen, like the plant was used by, used to essentially form a celestial emissary. That's the word I'm looking for. It was used to form a celestial emissary somehow because that's the one connection between both of them. So if you look at the lumen wood, the whole plant, that's where we found the living failures, and the lumen flower garden in the waking world. That's where we found the celestial emissary, which would have been the successful version of what they were trying to do here. And of course, I believe the idea of that was somehow that the celestial emissaries and the celestial minions were going to somehow help them commune with the Great Ones. Now, kind of going on a connection here, there's a couple of things I'd like to bring up. Kos is kind of the interesting point here, and this is actually the corpse of Kos. So, Orphan of Kos, a lot of people, when they first play this, they actually mistakenly refer to the orphan as Kos, but it's actually Orphan of Kos because it's the offspring of this. This is Kos, the Great One. So Kos, like I said, is basically what we could see when we were coming down from the Astral Clock Tower through the Fishing Hamlet. This was the corpse that we could see from above. That's where Lady Maria was leaving the flowers, essentially. And so let's just kind of take a look at this so you can kind of see the body. In some ways, it almost kind of reminds me of like a nudibranch, the sea slugs. But it's got, arms, and if you look inside where the tentacles are coming out of, there's a face. And so, which I think is really interesting. Now, some people have noted that actually, I think this one was, again, directly from Bhatti, that actually, this one might not be from Bhatti, I can't remember. Somewhere along the way, I kind of read that somebody was comparing Kos to the parasitic leeches from the Nightmare Frontier, which I thought was really interesting. And then I started looking at it, I'm like, yeah, the body does kind of look like that in a way, because they just kind of looked like this big white mass, and then they would lift up and there was like an underside to them, which I thought was really, I thought that was pretty cool. And I could definitely see that being some kind of weird connection, because of course we are in a nightmare realm, and technically the nightmare realms here versus there are connected. So I thought that was kind of a cool comparison. When we were fighting with, before we fought Lady Maria, she had grabbed us by the arm, pulled us in, and she made a comment: a corpse should be left well alone. Now, a lot of, like, most people, myself included, initially would hear that and say, or think that, she's the corpse, because, when you go there, I think it says, like, inspect corpse or something like that. So you're kind of thinking, oh, she's the corpse, she's telling you to leave her alone, or something on that order. But the corpse I do believe she is referring to is Kos here, because her whole purpose for being there, as far as we know, was to protect the secret of the nightmare, which was the fishing hamlet, and what's here, essentially, in some fashion. Now, I do believe the original Japanese of that didn't say a corpse should be well enough alone. I think it said something about corpse fishing, which again kind of more implies her here, Kos, versus Lady Maria in the Astral Clock Tower. So corpse fishing would be more of a direct implication on Kos than not Lady Maria as the corpse that she was referring to. So I think the general thought on that is that, Kos is the corpse that should be left well enough alone. Now this is our first time really getting more information on Kos, but we have learned about Kos in the past. So if you recall, going back to the School of Mensis, when we were in the Nightmare of Mensis, Mikolash said, Kos, or some say Kosm, do you hear our prayers? And so it sounds like they were trying to call on the Great One, Kos. Mikolash also says somewhere in the mix of there, and I kind of assumed it was referring to Kos specifically, though I'm not entirely sure. But he says, as you once did for the vacuous Ram, grant us eyes, plant eyes in our brains to cleanse our beastly idiocy. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting idea. That kind of made me wonder, is Kos the one that granted eyes to Ram? And then there was another kind of comment that Mikolash said. He says it kind of randomly, and I think I did catch it on camera, because I think I was about to drop into the room and fight him. And he said the line, and so I kind of stopped so I could listen to it. So it's right at the end of the fight, basically. And he says, a grand lake of mud, hidden now from sight, the cosmos, of course. Let us sit about and speak feverishly, chatting into the wee hours of new ideas of the higher plane. And so I thought that was kind of interesting, because we're actually at a lower plane of the nightmare, and so I didn't know if that's what he was referring to, is kind of going upwards. So I kind of wonder if he knew about this being down here, because the Nightmare Frontier is hypothetically above us, and then the Nightmare of Mensis above that, if you look at the plane of existence. And I'm going to kind of show that a little bit here, since we have now seen this location. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Maybe Kos was the one who granted the eyes to Ram, because Kos is a great one. It's unfortunately a dead great one, so because this is probably one of the few true great ones that we actually hear about, because there's not a ton in this game. If you take the kin out of this, there's not a lot of true great ones left, as far as what's left. As far as what I know, I should say. I shouldn't say that as a general comment. And so I'm kind of wondering if Kos then died somehow before the School of Mensis figured out about her, because the School of Mensis hypothetically would have came much later in that timeline. And so that is the end of the Fishing Hamlet. That is the end of the Hunter's Nightmare. There is still more stuff, a little bit more stuff to get out of this. There's some interesting dialogue back in the Hunter's Dream, And then I wanted to kind of do a quick showcase of a few things kind of relating to this. So let's start by going back to the Hunter's Dream, and then we'll kind of progress from there. And this probably won't take long, but I do have some stuff I'm going to talk about along the way. So, you know, never know. We'll see.
Oh, good hunter. I can hear German sleeping. On any other night, he'd be restless. But on this night, he sounds so very calm. Perhaps something has eased his suffering.
Of course, she's referring to the Hunter's Nightmare being slain.
Very well. Let the echoes become your strength. Let me stand close. Now shut your eyes. Farewell, good hunter. May you find your worth in the waking world.
Okay, so now that we're at the coasts, first thing I wanted to mention, and the reason I'm doing this is just to kind of showcase some of the Nightmare Realm, so to speak, here. But I've mentioned several times throughout the story how the Nightmare Realms are connected. So there was the first one we went to is the Nightmare Frontier. The second was the Nightmare of Mensis, and now the third here is the Hunter's Nightmare, where we are right now. And I've been pointing out since we started this that when we start in the Hunter's Nightmare, you're in this kind of nightmarish, post-apocalyptic looking version of Yarnum. And after you kind of pass the River of Blood and make your way into the underground corpse pile, you find this cathedral that leads you up to the research hall, where you start learning about Lady Maria. And once you kind of ascend the Astral Clock Tower and confront her, we get access to this realm. And although we didn't go directly up from there, we kind of actually came down, so to speak, in the Fishing Hamlet. You know, we are at essentially one of the highest planes of the Hunter's Nightmare specifically. But when we were in the Nightmare Frontier, I originally pointed out that the ship masts were something to kind of keep in mind, because here they are again. So you can see the masts rising out of the water, and I've been kind of pointing that out as we've gone through this place. The other thing is that when we were in the Nightmare Frontier, you can also see the Nightmare of Mensis. And so the implication there, I believe, is supposed to be that the Nightmare Frontier is above the Hunter's Nightmare in their plane of existence, because these are kind of like a weird kind of interdimensional worlds. That's why we have the waking world versus the dream and nightmare worlds. Now, one thing I recently learned about was that apparently something happens if you run straight out into the lake or the ocean, or whatever this is. And so I thought, let's do that. And I have some thoughts on it. I've just never tried it. So let's try it. I used all my echoes. So, you know, who cares about what's left? Alright, so now if you look over the edge, again, you can see the masts in the distance. So again, being an implication that... Oh, I didn't know I missed one of you. So the implication, again, being that these realms are connected, I think. And... if you walk up here and look straight up, kind of upright from my hat, you can see the Murgo's Loft in the Nightmare of Mensis way up there. So, kind of a cool point of connection, if you ask me. I just think that's a really nice touch. So, So apparently, if you stay close to the beheaded guy here and listen into the huts, you can hear the villagers talking more clearly than you could. And I can hear them whispering it now. You can hear them more clearly than what you did before this. I didn't even know there were voices, to be honest, but apparently you can hear them. This is where I'm getting the clearest sound. Okay, so Vatividya had a list of what he thought he could hear here, and some of it overlays on itself, so it's kind of garbled, but I definitely hear some of what he was saying, and I have it written down here, so I'm just going to recite it, not along with them, because I don't think I could keep in time, but there's, mother is dead, her baby taken, a bottomless curse, a bottomless sea, source of all greatness, all things that be, I call to the bloodless wherever they be. Do you hear the sea? Dear cause, curse the fiends, their children too. And the only other word I had on there that was really unique was Odin, which is another great one that we haven't really talked about much yet. And so some of those lines, they're definitely referring to Kos, of course, and the orphan, amongst other things there. Bergedworth was originally the ones who kind of started this. So again, their hunters were the ones who raided the village on behalf of them, essentially. The scholars, I'm assuming the scholars were the ones who then dissected the fishmen to collect their eyes and use them for communion. Man, he scared the crap out of me there. So, in the past, we've learned about the eyes, that the scholars have always been seeking eyes. Dude, are you going to keep talking? I'll go over here. Okay, dude. Traditionally, we've always learned that the scholars wanted eyes, and it's essentially like what they've been always looking for, and that was kind of at the, at kind of Master Willem's, ideals were to essentially surround the brain with eyes. I've also heard that possibly, to me, the idea that they wanted eyes is very clear from the Accursed Brew. But I've also heard that perhaps they actually wanted to take Kos, because if you listen to those voices, like I said, the first thing I could hear there was mother is dead, her baby taken. And so maybe they were actually trying to take the orphan for some reason, maybe for some kind of communion. I don't know why. I don't really know why Kos died, to be honest, if that was the hunters or what. Now, the other kind of component that has come up here are curses. Now, if you think back to this, it kind of makes me wonder, because they clearly have been calling to Kos for assistance here, calling to Kos for curses, and it's been implied in the past that curses could potentially be driven at people in some way by kind of calling on the Great Ones to curse people. And so, maybe this has something to do somehow with the Ashen Blood and the Beast Scourge that came, essentially from all this with the curses. Because it mentioned that curses are caused by angering Great Ones. Now, another thing that was kind of interesting on the idea of this was that the hunters are kind of like the ones that are still kind of pushing on here, the ones that are being put through this. And so it was Vati Vidya that had mentioned how, if you look at how this fits the hunter's mark, Also notice how the head is missing, specifically in this case, because I don't think we've seen that before. And the blood is kind of pooling out the bottom, and he had made the comment that it was kind of like the blood was rushing to their heads kind of situation. So, which is kind of like the original item that brought us here was the eye of a blood-drunk hunter. So, just kind of an interesting point of connection. Now, the reason I bring up the curses and angering the Great Ones is that maybe this is what originally angered the Great Ones and led to what we have in the Cursed and Defiled Chalice. My original question was, what was being cursed? What was being cursed, what was leading to the curse? And if you look at the Cursed and Defiled Chalice, I always kind of assumed maybe it was Loran, because they always refer to the alien land of Loran, or maybe it was the Temerians because they're no longer here. I'm not entirely sure, but it seems like if this is the actual curse that we're kind of getting at, maybe it was the Healing Church or Bergenworth specifically, because we're seeing nothing here but Healing Church and Bergenworth throughout all of this. So, again, the idea of the beheaded hanging body here then is the idea that maybe it's in the set of the hunter's mark, and maybe it's supposed to be symbolizing the blood has kind of gone to their head and drove them, to all this, and now they're kind of making an example of them in some way. I don't know, but I thought that was kind of an interesting kind of points that get brought up, because we will soon be going to the Cursed and Defiled Chalice, the Cursed and Defiled Labyrinths, which honestly I always just thought they were Temerian labyrinths. I'm not, and I could be wrong about there being a connection here. I'm not entirely sure on that. These are just some of my own thoughts at this point. Combination of my thoughts and stuff I've read and stuff I've watched. So. Alright, so we are in the Grand Cathedral in the Waking World here. I wanted to point out one thing. The statues here, the ones that kind of look like, I always thought they looked like amygdala because they look like the tonsil stone at the head, but the rest of the body does look a little weird for an amygdala, and then the spears. And this again goes back to Vati Video. So again, this is not my thoughts. This is just what I'm gathering from what he said. He said, if you look at the statues in the Grand Cathedral, is it possible that they were inspired by the villagers of the Fishing Hamlet? Now, personally, I still think they look like they're inspired by the tonsil stone and amygdala in some way. I would say amygdala, definitely. But he did make a good point, and maybe it's a homage to both in some way, that they're wielding spears, or are they spears to begin with? Because they look very harpoon-like if you look at them that way, and that's what the villagers were using in the Fishing Hamlet. So I just thought I'd jump here really quick to show that, because I thought that was a really cool comparison, because that is what they were essentially using if you go back to when I was fighting them. So anyways, that was kind of the last point I wanted to make. We got a few things we can look at, so we might as well head to the Hunter's Dream and close things out. I don't remember seeing level 17s before. That's kind of cool. So I mean, it's the level 15 one that pops the trophy, and I did put that in the video where it came up, so. That one is kind of interesting. Again, I'm probably not going to use most of these anyway. Alright, so we have a few things here that we can do to kind of close off. So first of all, we have Braider sets now that we've completely collected that. We had Simon's set previously, and I don't think we've even read Braider sets, so we got some stuff to take a quick peek at. There's also one item from the old Hunter's Essence we haven't picked up, which is the piercing rifle, which will complete the Hunter's Essence trophy. So first of all, let's look at the sets. So we read Simon's set before, so let's just try it on. Alright, so this is what Simon was wearing. Just minus the head cap for now. So, kind of an interesting look. It almost looks like a mummified type wrapping set on the legs. On the front, it's kind of an interesting look. On the back, there's just a bunch of the rando stuff hanging from it. Kind of like a weird makeshift backpack and some carrying sacks. And this was designed to like blend into the populace, so looks kind of like standard wet clothing, just really, really worn and extremely, extremely like shredded up on the coat. And then the hood looks like it's blindfolded on the front. So you have a hood that goes over the head and then a blindfold. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, and again, this was meant for them to blend in, which I think is an interesting thing. So why the hunters were blending in, I'm not entirely sure. And they said the whole idea of making it like, you know, just because you see someone that looks like a beggar doesn't mean they're a beggar kind of thing. I think that's what it said. Now the other set was Braider's set. And before we actually look at it, I'm going to quickly read, because I don't think we've seen that one yet. Okay, so the head's different, it looks like. Alright, so looking at, this is, I think I referred to this as the Beast set or something like, no, actually I just have it referred to as Braider's set. Never mind. So it looks like it's kind of blood covered, we got some fur on it, we got like regular clothing underneath. Beast hide garb. The bloodied hide of a horrible cleric beast pulled over the back. Without the attached beast hide, this foreign garb wouldn't raise anyone's eyebrow. So it's foreign garb, interesting. So foreign garb with an attached hide to it. It's kind of cool. Because it does just look like regular clothing otherwise. If you look at his pants when he was sitting down in the cell, they just looked like standard, like hunter pants almost. Or not hunter pants, maybe more like constable, hunter or constable, I'm not really sure. Braider donned a compatriot's beastly scalp and hide while still moist with blood. Oh no, I used the M word. I'm sorry if anybody had to hear that. Most of the blood stains on the hide were from that day. And then, of course, the head. Braider's testimony. The scalp of a horrible cleric beast, indicating the hunter Braider, a healing church assassin, had killed a compatriot. Afterward, he wore his ally's own scalp and hid himself away, deep below in a cell. The church provided him with a single, soundless bell of death to ensure that secrets would be kept. So it sounds like he was basically just sitting down there waiting for us to come by and then bombard us after we leave the Astral Clock Tower, if we get past Lady Maria, that is. Which, of course, we did. So yeah, like I said, they're kind of like a standard clothing set, I would imagine. And then you have the Cleric Beast set. So let's put the scalp on. Alright, so that's actually really cool if you ask me. So you have the Cleric Beast kind of hide on the back, and the head has kind of the antlers sticking out. And then if you look at the left side, you have like the extra furries from the giant arm that the Cleric Beasts have, which I think is kind of cool. Of course, you wouldn't think that would quite fit a person, right? Let's look a little bit closer. So like I said, the coat's kind of bloodied. The hide's covering the eyes, but it's still kind of like a hood. Now the Cleric Beast is actually missing eyes, and I made a comment about that early on. So I wonder if there's a connection to the way it's kind of covering over the eyes. It's kind of an interesting set. Not really something I'd probably wear, but I could see that catching on. It's just like very formal on one side and then very not on the other. Or very formal on like the bottom half and then not so much on the top half. Anyways, so we can get back to our Maria set. And the other thing was, we checked the Rikuyo, we checked the Kos Parasite. The Blood Letter was the newest one, because I don't think I read this. Bloodletter, the demented hunter weapon brandished by Brador, the Healing Church assassin. The Bloodletter assumes its true and terrible form after it draws upon blood from the inner reaches of one's body and soul. And like I said, maybe this is a blood tinge weapon, because it sounds like one. This is the only effective means of expelling tainted blood, or so Brador, isolated in his cell, continued to believe. Let us stash some of this stuff away, because we're not going to be using it. So we have the Black Sty Eye, the Cursed Brew. I wonder if the Cursed Brew can be used for anything. I should have looked more closely at it. So Simon's Bowblade, we'll put away. Bloodletter, Kos Parasite. We'll keep the Rakuyo. Heo set and Braider set can go. Interesting. Sometimes I keep forgetting that the Hero set is a church attire. Okay, I don't know if I'll have enough for the piercing rifle, but we'll quickly check it out. Oh, that's probably under firearms. What am I thinking? There it is. Okay, so we need 20,000 to get that. Alright, so we'll probably do that like late game then. I'll move my notes around on that so we don't forget to get it. Alright, that is a good place to close things out. To recap, we continued our exploration of the Fishing Hamlet by making our way into the caverns and out to the coast, where we found the corpse of the Great One Kos and fought her offspring, the Orphan of Kos. Along the way, we found a grave overlooking the giant corpse of Kos with lumen flowers, which suggests that Lady Maria would probably visit that grave, maybe to mourn over what they had done. That's at least the only thing I could think of. Defeating the orphan allowed us to slay the nightmare and seemed to ease Gehrman's suffering. It also let up the rain, and you could see the dawn in the distance. The kind of warped moon had disappeared. As the story goes, as far as the Fishing Hamlet, the true secret of the nightmare, Byrgenwerth had their hunters raid the Fishing Hamlet, where the scholars essentially would start dissecting the villagers, or scholars or hunters would dissect the villagers and essentially remove their eyes. It's been suggested that they might have wanted the orphan for a third umbilical cord as well, though I'm not entirely sure on that. It is an orphan of a great one, and that's typically where the umbilical cords have come. So that was kind of an additional thought on, as opposed to one side looking for eyes and one side for the umbilical cord. The village shamans then called on the Great Ones, and I'm thinking Kos, since the body was there, to essentially curse the scholars and hunters of Byrgenwerth, which I suspect was the cause of the cursed and defiled labyrinth, and may have some connection to the Ashen Blood and Beast Scourge that was caused by the old blood of Ebrietas, though I'm not entirely sure on that. The cursed stuff is more my thoughts than anybody else's, because I haven't read anything on it really. I originally questioned whether it was Loran or the Temerians that were cursed, because the Loran chalice is referred to the alien Loran, as an alien land of Loran. I think that's what's in the description, as in something made the place into kind of a devastated desert-like land is what it sounded like. And then, of course, the Temerians, I don't really know what happened to them. I have no idea on that one. I've never read anything or heard anything on that, at least not that I can remember. But the evidence in this case pointed to Byrgenwerth and the Healing Church. So the Healing Church was more evident from the research hall, and then Byrgenwerth is really at the core of the Fishing Hamlet itself. And it seemed like the hunters were the ones that it was more directed at. And of course, they were the ones that did raid the village, so that would somewhat make sense. And it is called the Hunter's Nightmare, along with finding that beheaded corpse that was very obviously the hunter's mark with the head removed. So kind of interesting, because that does change the symbol a bit. And if you need to recall in the symbol, you can see it right with my blood echoes. That's the symbol for blood echoes. And so it's kind of like the same symbol, just minus the little dot at the bottom of it. There was also direct evidence here that the Hunter's Nightmare was connected to the Nightmare Frontier and Nightmare of Mensis, which I think I've suggested that several times over the playthrough, so sorry if I'm sounding like a broken record. I just think it's really cool. But when we were here, we kind of started off at the low end with the Hunter's Hunter's Nightmare in the in kind of this devastated post-apocalyptic Yharnam. And once we make our way up the Astral Clock Tower and into the fishing hamlet, you can see these ship masts. And if you look down, you can still see Yharnam below, which is really cool. But then if you go to the Nightmare Frontier and Nightmare of Mensis, you can also see the ship masts coming up from the clouds, which is suggesting that we're at another layer just above the Hunter's Nightmare, which I think is really, really kind of cool. And then, of course, in the Nightmare Frontier, you can also see the Nightmare of Mensis. Now, I did try walking out into the lake because Vati had suggested that. Apparently, and it looked like he had died from frenzy when I watched it. So I don't know if that's been if that was something that just needed to be fixed, or maybe he was just being a little bit trolly. I don't know. He doesn't seem like he's usually like that. So I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it was just something that I really don't know. And I'm not going to call him a troll because I don't. Even if he was being, I'm like, he does amazing stuff. So. So if that was just being trolly, then whatever, then it's nothing. But it looked like it had caused frenzy, and so I was kind of considering the possibility that maybe the frenzy was actually coming from the Nightmare of Mensis through the brain of Mensis somehow. Maybe time is warped between here and there, but again, I could have just been being trolled there. I don't know. Anyways, with that being said, let us officially close things out for the night. Thank you all for joining, and I will see you all later.